Is it paused already? Alright guys, welcome back inside the fourth best of two of the day. Vega versus 4С&L, hopping into the draft in this one, and certainly as we mentioned before, some overlap between the heroes that both sides are comfortable with already. We're going to see Niqua's Queen of Pain removed from the pool, and we're going to see no one's signature Shadow Fiend taken out in this first phase.
Yeah, this draft's going to be wide open from the start. You've got IO as well as Tusk, and Doom as the big three left. So both teams play the IO, and to me that's like probably the first pick hero of choice, which does leave Tusk though. So it's kind of it is a trade-off that 4С&L are willingly giving Vega.
Yeah, and 4С&L are a hero or a team that is willing to pick up the Tiny kind of in any situation with or without the IO. They've got two players in both Bambo and Pycat that are very capable picking that hero up and utilizing his toolkit. So wouldn't be too surprised to see 4С&L grab it if Vega opt to go for this IO in the first phase. Feel like maybe they got a little bit of tunnel vision with Bambo's signature hero pool, picking up that Bat Rider into a couple of heroes that dealt pretty well with him, already having the Rubik on the other side, and maybe they don't go back towards that. And as you mentioned,
ooh, something different.
So yeah, first pick Tusk from Vega is, I mean, has to be something they're prepared for at this point, giving the Tiny IO to 4С&L.
So I feel like one of the basically what Vega can say there is if we first pick IO, 4С&L run the Tiny without IO. They will take away your Tiny and run it like mid with a Bane or a Lich and win the lanes, and then suddenly Solo can play the IO and Vega can play around it when they don't have the Tiny, but I feel Vega just more confident having something more teamfight centric, get like a Tusk with either a Winter Wyvern or a Gyrocopter is another good hero to pick up early. Lina actually gets snagged. Solo normally the one to handle this in the 4 position role, so
and they're actually the only team that has played the support. The other team that was, you know, perhaps not to be mentioned to come here that does play this Lina support role is Newbie, and I haven't seen anyone else being runner in the 4, but they were successful earlier on with Magan the Beastmaster and Solo on that Lina, roaming around and finding ganks, and certainly Lina is always really nice up against an IO with the burst potential.
Ooh, sneaky little ban on the Brood, something we haven't seen as of yet, but always lurking on the back of your mind when you're versing a team like Vega. Mag, no one for pulling that out. One of the key heroes in their run through that ESL 1 tournament we were talking about earlier, so we'll see. And that's one of the things here. So, I mean, we're talking about a solo Lina, but that means the Tusk kind of needs to be in the off lane. I don't see them playing Sioma on like a 5 position Tusk. To me, one of these two heroes needs to be a core. You don't really want to have a Tusk Lina support duo. They both want, I mean, Tusk wants more like levels and to play the 4. Lina wants the farm, so it'd be very greedy to run these two as a support duo in a lot of ways.
Yeah, certainly so, and they, as you mentioned before, it serves some of the same purposes in terms of their roam potential and perhaps their presence towards that mid lane. So, I mean, Vega could always give it over to no one in mid, but as you mentioned, it's probably the less common of the configurations in terms of player-hero combos there. 4Clover's going to pick up the Bane here, and because of the Ancient Apparition ban, 4С&L will ban out the Dazzle, expecting Vega to pick that up. Bane gonna have that Nightmare to set up the relocates, and that'll be very nice for 4С&L, and Bane hasn't made it through the first phase of picks and bans until this game today.
Yeah, normally it's like picked up as a first pick here, but I think because 4С&L got the IO Tiny, and then Vega's like, well, they got the IO, they're not gonna get the Bane as well maybe, or they're not as worried about the Bane, although I feel you have an IO Tiny mid Bane, one of the better supports to zone out whatever Vega offline is going to be there, so you can pair Bane with any kind of a safe lane core for Niqua, so we'll see. I'm just curious to see what Vega do about the mid lane, because IO Tiny mid, I don't think you want to be sending a Lina mid against that. There it is, you don't get Dazzle, so you ban the AA, that's kind of the strategy. You ban the AA, they were building towards this Husker pick. I think they would have preferred the Dazzle to the Wyvern, but at least Wyvern offers you some heal and some backup to this Husker.
Yeah, and certainly the Cold Embrace will be nice for the Huskar here. There's really only the pure damage, aside from physical, when the Huskar is low from the Bane. So Cold Embrace could be nice, and yeah, that AA ban setting up for it, as you mentioned. It's the first time we've seen it, and we've kind of been slightly subconsciously expecting this Huskar pick all day. 4С&L will get the Night Stalker, which has been pretty hotly contested all day, pretty late into their draft as well. So certainly they can look to queue up the aggression early and often, but Huskar is certainly a hero that feasts off these early skirmishes.
Would you have expected the Husker from Vega, though, because I feel like that's not the team I was thinking today that would pull it out.
Yeah, it definitely seems like one of the teams less likely to do so. NLG definitely stands out, and 4CL even more so than Vega does. But yeah, they insta-picked it, so it's definitely something that they've practiced, I feel, at some point, and probably going to be Pasha picking it up. But, I mean, he can hold his own in the mid lane up against this IO Tiny.
I still worry about that lane. I'm not convinced you want to be sending the Husker mid against IO Tiny. You have the backup of the Winter Wyvern, which I imagine would be the plan, but I'd almost rather see like a last pick into a Bristleback type hero, something we've seen run against the IO Tiny mid before. It's also a hero that can farm up the stacks. Like right now, you don't have any good power farmer.
Vega
4CL last pick Viper. When we've seen a huge resurgence of Viper lately, it's been a key hero for a lot of teams.
Still a Wind Ranger in the pool for Vega. Always deals decently well with the IO Tiny or any heroes in close proximity. The Nightmare or the Void on top of Windrun can always be detrimental, and Viper matches up pretty well if they want to put that IO Tiny in the safe lane with the Wind Ranger, but I feel like it's still a strong mid that's available in the pool. TA not the greatest into this matchup here. They have a lot of ways to deal with her now that the Viper has come out.
Yeah, and it makes me think they're maybe sending the IO Tiny to the safe lane, like you mentioned, when you pick a Viper. Not a hero that used to be run in the safe lane occasionally, but not something you see too much anymore. So.
Yeah. Very self-sufficient laner as well, and often you see most of these teams having to garner some support attention towards that mid lane, and with the Viper there, they generally speaking won't have to do so, so perhaps allows them to apply a little bit more pressure to this Huskar before he gets a couple more points up in that passive and finds his effective tankiness.
Yeah. I could see Vega going for a pick we saw earlier today again, the Sven, which would be quite nicely. It gives him a nice setup for the Lina stun. It's a good frontliner to back up the Husker. You've also got the Warcry just to buff everyone up with some extra armor, so I think it's not a bad pick. It's kind of an alternative to the Bristleback. Like when I saw the Viper, I'm like, ooh, Bristleback's something not quite as good, also because it's a pretty bad matchup mid against Viper. So if you want to do like a Husker with Wyvern mid against Viper or IO Tiny, you could just do the safe lane farming Sven here for Pasha. But we'll see exactly what Vega have in mind here. It really is a very non-Vega-like draft. This is not a pick the Husker that they are known for running.
And I mean, Tusk is always strong, and Mag is a very versatile player, but it doesn't feel like a Mag hero at this point. It feels like they still kind of need one. I mean, Slardar is in the pool, but then again, their laning shakes down a little bit weak at that point, I feel, if the Slardar comes up.
I don't think they get much out of the amp damage this game either. It does, like, every hero gets that little bit of extra right click, but you're not really getting right clicks out of your Wyvern. Husker's damage coming largely from the burning spears for the majority of the game. Lina just threw the nuke combo, so I feel Slaughter doesn't work too well. Brewmaster, there's a just all-around general utility here, so kind of similar to the Sven. He's tanky, he's a frontliner, can help create space around the Husker. You've got to be able to protect him, and that's something the Brewmaster is great at doing, which is just creating chaos in a fight, protecting other core heroes. You throw like a Tiny up in the air, you throw boulders on a Viper, and suddenly the team fight goes a whole lot better.
A lot of ways to cancel the grip as well, and definitely feels like a Mag hero, much more so than the Tusk would have. So Sioma gonna pick that up, and yeah, Vega looked like they round this out pretty comfortably, but 4C&L, this is their bread and butter. I mean, these are heroes that all of pretty much every role are comfortable playing. Even Nikwa has been playing quite a bit of Viper lately, although most teams haven't seen too much of him.
Yeah, so as kind of mentioned, Vega won't be running the Lina and Tusk as the two supports, so no one picking up Lina means a core Lina coming out of Vega. Yeah. Probably hoping for that matchup against Viper, just because it's a lot better than the IO Tiny one, even if still slightly Viper favored. Yeah, maybe a little bit scarred from the earlier series. They did end up winning that game, but Excalibur Lina did face up against No One Viper mid lane, so they just played this matchup in the reverse roles, and we'll see how No One fares. He is going to pick up that Lina. Vega on the Radiant side. Sioma, the Slayer, going to pick up the Tusk. Mag going to go towards that offlane on the Brewmaster solo, picking up the Wyvern, and finally that pocket pick. Pasha going to have the Huskar. Alright, well, 4CL, looks like Bambo actually headed towards the safe lane on Night Stalker. Here you'd maybe normally expect to see in the off lane. It will be an aggressive lane coming out of 4CL as Io leading the way. EGM playing him Saxka on the Bane. We've got Pycat playing the Tiny. And that does leave Nikwa on Viper, so it's like potential like aggressive dual lane here slash tri lane. Like what Tiny Bane Io, they likely going to send all three of these down bottom. When you send someone like a Nightstalker, you're not going to do that with having support up there in mind.
Yeah, Arctic Burn not going to be as effective with the IO present for that extra tether move speed as well. So don't know how much kill potential they have on the Huskar, at least a couple levels in here, but if they're able to close the gap early on, they should be able to kill him off, or he gets a couple of points in that Berserker's blood.
Yeah, I think just looking to hurt his farm early on. Winter Wyvern, a hero that's not great against the aggro tri-lanes because Arctic Burn has such a long cooldown. At 50 seconds, you can just use it so rarely that you can kind of play around the cooldown. It's like playing around like a Tide Ravage cooldown.
Right.
In the laning stage, it's like, okay, he just used Arctic Burn, we can go aggressive because this Winter Wyvern hero does nothing until he hits level 2, then he gets another spell which is quite as good, a Splinter Blast or a Cold Embrace. So Vega do not have a good way of dealing with an aggressive tri-lane here.
Yeah, we'll see if they're able to bait them into a rune engagement here. A couple sitting in the Roshan pit and tether to the high ground.
Oh, he's got the he's going to look for the toss up there.
Yeah.
This is cheeky.
The old tiny Rubik play, and he does have the range certainly to do so. So
not good at stun initiation. But...
Shard's already skilled up here.
Oh no! Did they go for the rune? Can he snowball down? Oh, he's got ice shards.
Yeah, he's got shards. So actually, pretty much a little bit of a lucky play. They're gonna find no one as well with the right clicks. Just that orb effect doing work for Niqua there early on, and yeah. Tusk stuck on the high ground, and they weren't privy to the fact that he had skilled up shards, so a little bit of luck going Pycat's way there, already having skilled it for the engagement.
Yeah, Sioma, and you're just not expecting. We haven't really... I've seen like videos of that IO tether onto like a cliff and then toss up, like before post on Reddit and stuff, but I've never actually seen a competitive game until now. Maybe something I've missed, but something that he just wasn't ready for, or he should have held onto that skill point.
Yeah, Pycat going to be completely zoned out by the Huskar, but as his Bane, Saxo returns to lane now. Pasha going to have to play a little bit more safe in this one. They do get the medium camp blocked off.
Oh, EDM!
Yeah, he's been sharded up, and no tether target just yet.
He can bottle up in the Roche pit here, and we'll get out okay. So it looked like a bit of a tricky spot. He had max bottle charges and tether his way out of there. This is a disaster for Vega, though. This Tusk is completely out of the picture for now. He can't really move out of here for some time. He's got the TP scroll just now coming out, but he's already lost and wasted so much time.
Yeah, and even the Wyvern having to rotate out of lane as well. And one silver lining for them thus far is that no one's holding his own pretty well in mid lane up against Niqua's Viper 5-2 to the 4-1, and is going to connect the LSA. Has a Dragon Slave available with one more right click. He's going to be out of range. Oh, actually,
there's an ice shot. Can he land it, Sioma? No. Went fishing.
Courier comes through with a salve as well, so Nico going to be able to sustain himself in lane. What are your thoughts on this top lane matchup here? We got the Brewmaster of Mag versus Bambo's Nightstalker.
It's kind of boring. They're two melee heroes. They'll both hit each other and not do much damage. They'll both farm. It's a bit of a snooze fest, to be honest. But they are hitting each other a lot here, so they're both taking a bit of damage. But unless there's a big misplay or some like RNG coming out from the Drunken Brawler, we're unlikely to see a kill. Bottom lane is where it's at.
Yeah, and perhaps arguably so, the Nightstalker can get active a little bit earlier than the Brewmaster, so maybe 4C&L a little bit more content with that trade of farm and blows up top. But yeah, Pasha really hasn't been zoned anywhere near effectively though.
Nico wins the duel at mid, gets away on 20 HP with a solo kill of all things, and Vega's day gets a little bit worse. Yeah,
and after what was a pretty good lane start for no one, he's going to be brought down, and he's going to be able to get the deny. Oh, the shards will be there.
Oh, that's a nice Radiant Wood helping Sky that one.
Yeah, and unable to get the one underneath that tier 1 earlier, but we'll find that return kill onto the Viper. He did buy out, of course, though.
Yes.
Planning on suiciding, so Viper not losing too much in that one.
Yeah, that really helps out the Tusk. Gets him up to level 2. He was struggling to find farm or levels anywhere on the map, and finding a kill like down the core does a lot. Bottom lane, Pasha going in deep. Once Pycat, the Burning Spear is going to tick him low, but EGM's there. The IO heals. Charge, good ability. 7 stacks of Burning Spears, not able to net the kill there, but either way. 4C&L gonna have Saxo a little bit deep here. No Arctic Burn available though, and they're well aware of that, so forward. Yeah, so TP and Sioma, and this time with Snowball may be able to go on the aggressive. Charge's not gonna latch here.
And Sox are going to look to continue to trade. Things going to stagnate for the time being. They have to rotate Nico back once again. He's going to salve up. Spends a lot of money early on these salves in order to sustain himself in lane. And yeah, no one faring pretty well 1v1.
Yeah, he's like destroying. Okay, he got solo killed, which is really bad. But other than that, he's crushing this lane on CS and just in general. He's getting close to getting another kill. One charge is saving the Viper's life there. No one has got complete rune control as well to go in his favor, and here comes Solo from the south looking for that last right click, and Nico's forced back to base. He's actually getting crushed by Lina. Yeah. And that's a 0-2 Lina that's crushed. So like that, it's very much one of those things where like, it reminds me of some of those pub plays that like, I won my lane, I got a kill. It's like, well, did you really win your lane? Like, I don't think that's happening right now.
Yeah, indeed, and it's not a matchup that you would paper really be inclined to say is tilted heavily towards either hero. So
yeah, I think no one's just outplaying him right now from what I've seen. There was even no threat from the Tusk roaming. He was stuck on the cliff for some time, so it was just being pure outplay. No one almost killed him like very early on, got him down to 20 HP, and then it looked like the next time he went for the kill, he just got a bit too aggressive. But all in all, it's been a great laning stage from Lina.
Yeah, and a bit of a rarity to see an actual 1v1 matchup in the mid lane as of recent times. And that's true. They're forcing, I mean, with this aggressive tri lane, have been forcing the presence of the supports bottom for Vega.
Yep. Nightmare at bottom. Maybe looking to go in here. Look at the Avalanche toss combo. Pasha getting low, and the Brain Sap will secure a kill. So, nice ward to get the vision they needed, with it being nighttime as well to set up that Nightmare.
Yeah, and holding on to that pure damage from the Bane till the very end. So, very well played for 4С&L, and they'll find a kill on the Huskar finally. What they've intended to do with this laning configuration, will be able to net one just sub 5 minutes.
Now Bambo's going to go on the move, though. He's hit level 5. It's nighttime. One of the things when you're getting solo XP on a Night Stalker, that first night you do want to do more and get scouted out though, and this is not the hero he was hoping to find. He really wanted the Lina kill.
Yeah, he has no Void left available as well, and the TP out from Sioma is well timed.
Yep.
No one's gonna get voided up, gets Clarity cancelled, and has the Crippling Fear as well, but Nico's a little bit far out of range, and he should be able to fog him here.
Yeah, he's baiting. He had a TP there, so if he thought he was gonna die, he can just instantly TP after that Void, and that's something, against Night Stalker, you really do want to carry TPs. Yes, he's gonna cancel, but he's gonna lead with the Void to slow you down, and once it's on cooldown, it's an easy TP out. That's what we see from the Tusk, so a failed first rotation from Bambo. And so far, wasted time, but he's going to loop around and look for round 2 here in the mid lane. Yeah, meanwhile, Mag has picked up his Primal Split over in that top lane, did return to base, having to regen there, but finds a little bit of space, and they're well aware that Bambo is on the move. Bot lane, Solo in a bit of trouble. He's going to be avalanched up, tossed back. No, tossed straight up in the air, and he will get the Embrace off, but Brain Sap and the Void combo is there to finish him off, and second kill netted by this trio bot lane. While that was happening, they did go for a Laguna Blade dive in the mid lane. So a 1-for-1 trade across the map. But here we see 4С&L with the high ground advantage. They're going to get it on Sioma. The Wisp Balls needs to hit this one last one. One more right click will do it. So they get the Tusk here, and the chase is now on for no one on the Lina, who's going to get his bottle refilled once more. That's like twice in a row. First the Tusk, after coming back, refills his bottle. Now we're going to see Solo do it just as well. So getting the royal treatment here in mid lane. Yeah, and Lina, one of the heroes that benefits heavily from having an endless mana pool. But Bambo's still on the move here, as there's a full minute or so left of this first nighttime. And Seema, well aware of that, is looking to catch them off guard from the dire side, trying to defend up, and no one bot lane. He TP'd with an invis, but the ward spotted the TP, so I don't know. It seems like it may still work, though. Yeah, LSA gonna catch 2, and actually doesn't catch the Wisp, but it's enough to get Pycat, and the overcharge was not there in time for that damage reduction. Not sure it would have been enough regardless. Bambo looking to re-engage here, but everyone very healthy still from the Radiant side, and Night Stalker perhaps a little bit deep behind enemy lines. You don't have anything really to catch him with his nighttime movement speed, however. just catching Vega's like, not expecting him to be just there, so now he's going to go a little bit aggressive on Pasha, but just poking around. Yeah, unable to bring him down. 8 stacks of the Berserker's blood, and Solo can rotate in with that Cold Embrace if need be. Pycat feels a little bit starved despite being atop the CS chart at this point at 1 death. Can hurt him a bit. Does have that full set of treads up though, so certainly can look to battle, and will get the level and grow fairly soon here. Mag yet to make any rotation, has 1200 gold
on the Brewmaster.
I kind of like what he's done. He made the TP cancel at bottom and expecting there to be a dive there when they killed the Wyvern and the Husker was in a bad spot. So once he saw his TP wasn't getting kills, he cancelled it and stayed top to keep farming. So it was a really nice move from Mag. He prevents him diving the Husker, and then he just stays top and continues to farm. And all in all, Night Stalker's first nighttime was, I would say, fairly ineffective. Like, he got just the one kill and assist on a Wyvern where it didn't even feel like he was needed for the kill. Bottom lane, Pasha getting dove on the Brain Sap, not enough, and the Cold Embrace will heal him back up. They're going to look to turn this one around, and they've got no one TPing in. Laguna Blade looking to bring down PJ. He gets taken out. Io again sitting behind with the heals, not quite enough.
Yeah, and Vega looking pretty strong as a squad here, a little bit low on mana on their Lina, but can look to probably force in this tier 1 a little bit, as they have forced quite a bit of rotation towards this bot lane, and maybe look like EGM was thinking about finding a little bit of experience mid, but perhaps going to join up with Bambo, although it being daytime. I don't know that they have all that much kill potential. Life break from the high ground is a possibility here from Pasha. He's going to scout EGM, but doesn't have any support nearby.
He's like fairly underfarmed on the level. I don't really feel like Pasha wants to go on the aggressive at this stage, and that's one thing that 4C's lanes have accomplished, keeping Pasha on the Husker down. So that's something they can use to their advantage, but they're going to have a big Brewmaster problem. This is where Mag's going to have a fast blink, and he can just kind of take control of the game, move around, smoke with the Lina, look for kills, and use that to help the Husker catch up, finish his Armlet, his Treads, his Home of the Dominator, and build towards some like decent item progression to go towards the mid game.
Yeah, and looks like 4CL are finally feeling inclined to mitigate the possibility for Mag to begin to snowball here, but it could be a little bit too little too late. 1800 gold bottom lane, they're going to get into a skirmish here. Cold Embrace going to keep Pasha safe. Darkness was popped by Bambo. Splinter Blast will come through and slow him down, but not sure they'll be able to get in range. Charge will connect on him, but the overcharge is there from EGM, and they'll keep Bambo safe for now.
And no one's ready to go ganking again. He's level 8, he's at base, he's healing up. He's going to TP bottom again, this ward. Man, this has just been such a sick ward coming out in this bottom lane. When you TP down there as Lina, you're not expecting that you're getting scouted out immediately. I mean, you may eventually realize, like, you've now walked through the jungle and it's very likely there's a ward somewhere in that area, but it's just given 4CL the information instantly. So really liking that ward coming out from Saxka.
I think we're going to find a little bit of space mid lane, and yeah, pretty much a wasted rotation from no one. At this point, Bambo playing fairly safe with EGM under the tower. Viper pretty far off any influential item progression at this point, and speaking of which, Mag is only 200 gold away from his. He's going to have a haste rune though.
Oh, this could be bad for Viper. He has not spotted this, but he's backed off already, but they may just still dive this. Haste rune is just...
Plain clap. Or clap split.
His teammates are a bit too far to back him up, and he can't solo kill Nico with his items. Okay, so Crisis averted, no kill off the haste rune. That's a good result. Normally you see a haste rune at this stage on a level 8 Brewmaster, you're expecting a kill.
Toss used top lane. Splinter Blast is going to slow up Pycat, and they do not have a Wisp nearby here. There is a defensive Nightmare available. They're going to pop it onto Sioma. He's going to try and TP out. Clap will be there. One big crit. Not the second one there.
That was really clever TP out. Managed to just get out in time. Unless you precast the Primal Split, you're not going to get the cancel off, so... Nice bit of play there. Mid lane, Lina was forced to TP home from a Viper Strike as well, but the real action was bottom lane where Io and Husker trade lives.
Got that one, and Pasha is going to drop there, so it's a nice little bit of gold and experience influx for Bambo's Night Stalker. And sitting on level 8 now, as this next nighttime is about to be eclipsed, could be really helpful for them. Nikwa doesn't feel like he can get active, and he is going to have to deny up his tower mid lane at this point, so the Viper, feeling a bit starved, is going to have to perhaps rally around how this Night Stalker is feeling at this point. But the Blink Dagger now picked up by Mag.
It's been spotted and pinged, but I don't think that's too big a deal that Vega's not going to get that surprise blink jump on. Most importantly, they have it ready for the second nighttime. This is a very dangerous stage of the game, so the fact they have a counterplay available, not just in a Brewmaster blink, but they've got Snowball, one of the best kind of defensive heroes, and just Tusk in general, Ice Shards as well. They have a good lineup for fighting now, despite it being nighttime. The second night is normally where a Night Stalker shines. Mid
lane, Snowball being thrown up onto Nikwa. They jump forward with the blink clap, and Laguna Blade gonna be there. The shards. Top of Sox, I'm not willing to dive this tier 2 just yet, it being nighttime, and they'll take a clean pick and look to back off from any danger. But the grip coming from range onto no one, and they're gonna cancel Mag's TP. He pops the mango, jump forward, split is gonna be there, and it's going to be a little bit too late to save his Lina. He will throw the Night Stalker up in the air. Does not have any follow-up, so at about 3-minute cooldown is going to be used pretty much to no avail for Vega's side. They do find that pick onto the Viper, but they end up trading their Lina for it. So overall, 4C&L pretty happy to take that cooldown in that mid laner who was more farmed than the Lina.
Yeah, Vega just got a bit too greedy there. It was like one of those moments where they're trying to get the pick off on mid lane, then defend top tower and find a pick off, and they just got caught in the middle of TPing from mid lane to top lane by the grip. So the first TP went, and then they also couldn't defend the top tower because the Lina got caught TPing. So just all in all, trying to get a bit too much done. They kind of just had to pick the battles they wanted to take. They either needed to just retreat from the mid lane, or they needed to just back off and go for the top one tower defense and not take the Viper pick off.
Bot lane, this deep ward just planted by Bambo is going to scout out solo, and he's more or less dead to rights at this point. They're going to open with the Crippling Fear, big Brain Sap, and the Void is there. He doesn't even get the Cold Embrace off to delay what seemed like the inevitable, and a nice pick coming the way of Bambo and Saxa.
Yeah. Vision has just been on point from 4C&L. It's been a key point for them here. It has given them at least a bit of an edge here as we get halfway through the second night phase.
Certainly looks like they're communicating a little better than they did in the early series today. Feels like they were a bit on different pages often in the game with their initiation and their follow-up, but assembling a bunch of gank squads here, and they've done pretty well, and they've been able to pick up the relocate on EGM as well, so they have that tool available to them both defensively and offensively. And Pycat, despite that early couple of deaths, has been quietly finding his farm. He's going to rush that Eggs build after the power treads in, isn't far off.
And I feel like that's something where no one on the Lina hasn't quite prioritized his own farm enough. He's 1-3, but I feel like he's had a really good game, but hasn't had like the jungle farm and stacks to fall back to, which you really need, because his Yule's timing needs to be in the next, like, you'd kind of ideally want like a 15-minute Yule's, I feel, in a game like this, since it is such like a fast tempo game, and we're going to be seeing 4C&L really look to use the Night Stalker, the Viper, mech timing to their advantage, so you want to have that Yule's up ASAP, and that's something which we're just not quite seeing yet. But with a blink clap, like, you've got a decent enough setup. They're going to go for a smoke gank here and try and invade the 4CL jungle.
So we're going to lead the way and try and find some of that flying vision. He does get a bit extra at night from the Arctic burn, but the one with the haste popped is actually going to be a little bit late into lane.
Yep.
And they'll secure a tier 1 here, but not what they were coming for. And yeah, meanwhile, Nikwa finding a trade bottom lane as well.
So there's the Ag Scepter as well, which means that 4C&L can start stacking Ancients if they want to and really look to accelerate Pycat's farm. A little tiny with the level 1 grow on the Axe.
Not too often that you see that combination, but Meg is going to find him out. The relocate is there defensively if need be, and yeah, Meg not willing to dive too deep behind enemy lines, lacking a little bit of vision. Does have some on the high ground here, but not behind that tier 2 and a little bit early in the game. Be diving that deep.
And this is just where Vision is going to decide the outcome of these fights. Whoever gets the jump is probably in the better position unless they slightly misuse their spells. And being nighttime, it's 4C&L who should have the advantage unless the Observer Wards can allow Mag to get up a good blink clap to start the fight.
Crippling Fear feels like it's going to be of high priority for 4C&L as well, and perhaps another reason to touch upon your point on the Yule Scepter for that needs to be out for no one. If they lose that silence because of the Yule's purge early on, certainly bodes well for Vega's ability to take a team fight. But speaking of which, they're sitting high ground with Vision of Pasha right now.
It's just not the ideal hero you want to engage on. He's very tanky and durable because of just being a Husker with Armlet.
And they're going to Viper Strike him up. The Snowball is going to come through defensively to save him, and they immediately turn onto the Bane and blow him up with the Walrus Punch. Nikwa's next on the list. He's going to be brought down as well. He does get the Nether Toxin right-click off, however, and the Armlet Toggle was not there from the Huskar. They even get the Laguna Blade LSA off onto
nice
EGM,
shots,
and the Shards are going to catch Bambo. They do have the LSA to cancel it. The Snowball's there to follow it. And Bambo is down, almost a 5-man wipe for 4CL's way. Meanwhile, Pycat farming up in top lane, but a great engagement mid off of a poor decision to enter that fight.
Yeah, 4C&L have the vision advantage from the high ground there, and probably misread the situation, thinking that Husker was more alone than he actually was, because you do not want to be engaging on the Husker. He had like 1700 HP, he's got a magic wand, he can armlet toggle, he had I think 12 to 13 wand charges, so you're almost guaranteed to get off that first armlet toggle because you just pop the wand right after you turn off your armlet to make sure you can get your armlet back on. And as a result, like, this Husker doesn't even get 2 kills before he goes down, and 4C&L can't take a team fight where they engage in the Husker. They've got to be either going on someone like the Brewmaster and killing him with the silence before he gets the split off, going on the Lina, even killing the Tusk is a great hero to go on, because Tusk Snowball there was also another great use that saved the Husker, or kept him alive that little bit longer to get off some extra spells.
Yeah, it feels like they were a little bit too closely gathered as well there. They didn't really get any value out of Saxa's Bane, and Vayne, who's level 8, you certainly want to be able to use that disable, maybe be able to grip up one of the back lines as they focus down the Huskar. But they were even fortunate to get the Huskar there. He could have probably survived if perfectly played that engagement. But either way, 4С&L feeding over a little bit of an advantage that they had accrued up until that point. It looks like Meek was finally finding some item progression. 18 minutes in is definitely subpar for two components and 200 gold away from a mechanism, but it's still a much needed item for this team fight potential for 4С&L.
Yeah, it's been a fair few deaths on both mids, but it's the Viper who's kind of seen the worst for wear as far as his overall farm and where he's currently sitting, and not really a hero known for its comeback potential in the game. You don't have to be like really far ahead with the Viper, but you need to be hitting your timings, like getting your mech, I would say, like 13 to 15 minutes in ideally. Then you want to go from like tier 1 to tier 1. You want to get your Roche time, and as long as you're kind of on par or a little bit behind like the main core heroes, you're doing fine. But when you're this far behind, you're kind of under leveled, you've got 4 deaths, coming back into the game is really tricky. So it's gonna have to come through a successful team. They get a good jump, like the previous one, let's say it wasn't a Husker, they kill the Brewmaster, they win a fight, then suddenly Viper's back in the game. So it's not insurmountable right now. Yeah. But it's very tricky for Viper to recover. They
do have the siege power of the Tiny to perhaps get him a little bit more of an influx of gold income, bringing down some towers, but they've already got 2 tier 1s eliminated off the map, so there's not too much sitting in the way of structures on the Radiant side for the Dire to pick up. But unfortunately, they can't transition this Viper into kind of the Aghanim's utility build, because there's no melee cores really for Vega's side for them to have to kite around. I mean, you have the Primal Split for the Brewmaster to keep him safe, and Huskar can just purge that off with the life break. So pretty good situation for Vega in terms of worrying about this Viper. And yeah, he doesn't scale too well in terms of physical, except for with the Nether Toxin versus the Huskar, not having anything like a Slardar to amplify his damage.
And with Viper behind, you look at the Tiny, who is farmed, he's top of the net worth by a pretty good margin, but the Vega lineup all in all deals well with a Tiny. You've got Winter's Curse, one of the best spells against IO Tiny in general. Cold Embrace can be pretty handy as well against all the physical damage. Husk is also a pretty handy hero to have. Brewmaster offers some great control with just being able to throw the Tiny up in the air in a team fight. And Husker may have to farm a BK eventually if he wants to be able to man fight the Tiny into the Craggy, but also can do pretty well against Tiny. It's not amazing, but you normally go like into a Heaven's Halberd as well, which is another great item against Tiny. So I feel all in all, their options at dealing with Tiny are there, and the damage output's coming from Tiny and not many other sources right now with Viper's start.
Yeah, it feels like even just, I mean, evasion obviously very effective versus Tiny considering his attack speed. It feels like even just raw HP against 4С&L's lineup can be very helpful for Pasha. So just that Sange in and of itself will certainly help them out. They'll look to take down this final tier 1 out in the offlane, and doubt we'll see too much of a contest put up by 4С&L side.
Interesting little pickup. Bamboo actually goes for a blade mail here, so something a bit different coming out from the Night Stalker. It does give him like all the stats, the mana, the armor, all help him out quite a bit, so it's a nice item just for that reason. And there is some decent AoE flying around: Dragon Slaves, Brewmaster Clap, Ice Shards.
Lane sucks deep behind enemy lines. Looking to find someone defending this top lane. It's going to be Solo coming through, and they're actually going to back the Tiny IO off for now.
Oh gosh, he's ganging deep here. He's got no backup. I mean, he has got potential backup of a relocate, but it's not really worth it just for a single kill on a support.
Yeah, perhaps.
Alina, on the other hand, that's tempting.
Then perhaps if they have this tier 1 down in the mid lane, then it's a little bit more appealing to them. But for now, that invisibility rune is going to expire, and he's going to walk around the corner into a Huskar, perhaps. But Pasha, once again, the most ideal target to jump onto, especially knowing the presence of most of those heroes for the Radiant side are nearby towards that mid lane. So just waiting it out on nighttime. They do pick up the mechanism now for the Viper, fully completed. And Tiny working his way towards that next item with 2k gold onto him.
I feel like the general talk in the 4С&L team camp right now is probably like, let's just slow things down. We're in no rush to get anything crazy done. Bottom lane though, Bambo maybe getting a bit aggressive here. The Blade Mail used kind of early. He can wait this one out, then throw the Laguna. Yep, he'll do so, and they'll get the kill. Bane TP's out. Vega with a pick-off now can push forward towards the tier 2. I was kind of trying to say, they just want to slow things down here. They're probably looking at things from their side, like, our Tiny's really farm right now. The Husker is not huskering us. Like, this game's going alright. Like, we can just go into the late game with a farm Tiny, play the split push game if we need to, and just look to out-execute Vega through the EGM Pycat combo.
Perhaps could have rushed with the Tusk Huskar at this point, but no points into Sigil, and Pycat was weary of that possibility, pinging it over, so Saxa going in to check this. Just going to retreat to farming for now, for Pasha's side, and it feels like slowing down the game certainly does favor 4C&L. I mean, Huskar is a hero who wants to fight. They do find the opening onto Saska, though, with the Snowball, and the Wallace Punch, the Dragon Slave will finish him off. And maybe this now is the opening for that Roshan.
Yeah. And 4C&L at least find a trade. They get the tier 2 top tower with the Viper Tiny, and the Io's even just backing them up should some kind of a gank come their way. So even if Wyvern's there, looks for the curse, and they get a good initiation, they've always got that relocate save. Ambo is in the neighborhood, ready to make a jump here. And with a relocate, this could be dangerous.
Eul Scepter up onto the Night Stalker. They're not going to look to go in with the LSA, and Pasha's kind of left his own devices here in the river. They get the combo off onto Solo, though they bring down the Wyvern early. EGM will be dropped, but the Lina will be dropped simultaneously, and Pasha in a lot of trouble now. Will be brought down. One last right click from Sexy Bambo. They toss forward Nikwa as well. Seema slowed up. He's silenced up. The Sigil is there, but it won't be enough to save him. And the Avalanche going to be their double kill for Pycat. And they're even going to look to jump into this Roshan, sitting at about 75% HP.
They just outmaneuver Vega there. They have push coming top lane, which Vega has to address. It's an IO Tiny with an Acceptor, so you could have at least one hero up there just to pose a threat to deter them from going for your tier 3 tower, and doing that while going for a Roshan, you've got relocate. So suddenly they're just at the Roshan pit with 4 or 5 heroes punishing you for going for a Rosh without your key teamfight hero, the Brewmaster. So again, kind of like what we saw earlier when Vega got caught mid lane by the Fiend script, just getting a bit too greedy and trying to like take too many objectives around the map at once, and they just don't quite have the lead that you need to get away with that kind of a play.
Yeah, and all their team fight control kind of sitting in the pockets of not only the Brewmaster, but the Eul Scepter combo from the Lina. And with the Eul Scepter blown early, and 4C&L well aware of that Brewmaster being present top lane, they take a very favorable engagement there. Yeah, bodes well for them going forward. And now they've kind of caught up on Nico's Viper. He's picked up the Sange in addition to this mech, and is sitting on top of the entire Tricore of the Radiant side.
Yeah, this is... I feel the next big thing for Vega is getting BKBs up. Lina needs it so you can just combo anyone on the front lines, to not be worried about something like a Blade Mail, and also means when you go in for a pickoff, like right there, he got the Yules off on Nightstalker, but didn't even go for the combo, partially because of the Blade Mail, but also because he suddenly sees a relocate coming in on top of him. He's like, oh crap, I'm going to die here. I need to just run away. But if he's got a BKB, he's got that like safety insurance behind him.
Mid lane, they're going to get the Nightmare off onto Mag. He blinked forward, looking for something. The defensive Snowball will be there, back towards the creep wave. Curse is going to connect onto 4. The life break through. Mech will keep everyone safe for now. Cold Embrace trying to keep Pasha up. He's getting pretty low, though. Another Toxin will be there when he comes back up. Walrus Punch is going to be there. They bring down the Bane. He'll be the first casualty for the Dire side. Pasha will be next to follow. And now the Brewlings pretty much left for dead here. Mag going to be able to respawn. Does try and get the clap off. The Avalanche will be there in time. Cold Embrace is there, but Mag more or less isolated at this point. Meanwhile, on the south side, Bambo is going to survive through the Tusk. He is able to bring him down. Throws the Void onto Mag. Mag unable to man up against the Viper and the Tiny. And even the IO Spirits will scout out Solo. Whoa. They'll get the Cripple Spear off. 5-man wipe in the mid lane for Vega.
I mean, I don't feel like you could hope for more out of your Winter Wyvern in that fight. Hits an incredible curse. The one downside to the curse was that the like follow-up stun, like LSA or Snowball, wasn't quite there. Like he's like hit a 4-man curse and there wasn't like much damage on top of it, but it was an insane Winter's Curse. He got a great Cold Embrace that saved the Husker. Husker was not going to be able to armlet toggle with the amount of damage that was coming his way there. So that Cold Embrace saved his life. But even with all of that and Brewmaster getting a split off in the middle of things, we didn't really see Vega just nothing. Yeah. Lina didn't... I think Lina's damage wasn't used there. We didn't see a Laguna Blade, but even so, it felt like at best they get maybe an extra 1 kill there. Either way, they were going to lose that fight pretty terribly. Yeah, it feels like Mag jumped forward a little bit brazenly there. I mean, he jumps forward, he blinks, and he's not in range for a clap. And rather than just turning back, he turns forward for a Drunken Haze onto the Bane, gets Nightmared up. And when that curse was thrown, it took a couple of seconds for that to expire before he could get his split off. And yeah, as you mentioned, no one just kind of outranged by that blink initiation from the Brew. So There's just such good sustain on the 4C&L side. Like, you look at Vega and you're like, okay, you've got the Cold Embrace, which is saving lives. Like, just in general, Husker, very durable. He actually maxed the Inner Vitality over the Berserker's Blood, a build we kind of sometimes see, especially when you're, like, in recovery mode. But even with the heals on the Vega side, the more obvious ones, it's just the IO with the constant tethers, the overcharges, the Glimmer Capes that have been keeping the 4C&L heroes nice and tanky. And then you've got a 2k HP Tiny, 1765 HP Viper. These heroes are just naturally very durable in their own right.
Yeah, tanky.
Oh, no one. He's caught out.
Yeah, they're going to find him with the grip. Relocating is not even really going to be necessary. And I got maybe even left in this bottom lane. The wave not pushed out quite enough for them to threaten this tier 2 just yet. But it's a big pick off on no one. Going to stifle his farm. He's the highest net worth target on that Radiant side. And Pycat with that freshly picked up AC is going to be an absolute menace towards these Radiant structures.
Yeah, 4C&L just doing a really good job right now, knowing that their timing right now is fantastic because Lina can't fight without a BKB, and they're kind of recognizing that Lina's desperate to finish farming that BKB, is trying to just farm neutral camps, and they're just going hyper aggressive in Vega jungle. They know even if just 1 or 2 heroes fight, like run into 4 or 5 Vega heroes, they can back it up with a relocate and win a fight, even like a 4v5 fight, just because Lina without BKB, Husker without BKB really struggle against the 4CL draft right now.
Tiny gonna get an Avatos combo up on the Mag. It's gonna force out the defensive split, and he is gonna use, yeah, definitely. So he'll find the cooldown, and no one able to re-engage here. So Pycat feeling pretty safe. They're even able to shove in this wave bottom, and now we'll be able to put a lot of damage into this tier 2. Probably bring it down. That's just gonna throw out the shards, and we'll be playing fairly far back there. Even gonna poke at high ground here, perhaps with a split down for the next couple minutes.
Yeah. Age is about to expire though, so that may cause some hesitation, and also just hesitation because they're probably not feeling like they're in a big rush right now. They've now managed to kind of put together a pretty sizable lead. They've got map control, although that's something that Brewmaster's going to look to deal with by picking up a gem. So Mag, this is one of those things when you're starved in your base, you have to know like it's safe to at least move out a little bit to push out your lanes and deward as much of the 4CL vision around your base as possible. So it's kind of essential for them, but still very much like you're kind of in dire straits regardless. Yeah,
and he's got a very small window to take advantage of that gem. This Aghanim Scepter for the Night Stalker is only 800 gold away for Bambo. So speaking of map control, 4CNL going to look to heavily tilt that War of Attrition in their favor and should be able to do so. Pycat feels almost unkillable at this point, and with 1800 gold on top of that 23 armor with the AC and the Aghanim Scepter, 2k HP feeling very effective for him with the overcharge on top of it.
He's really big right now. I'm curious to see what he goes for. There's a lot of different routes he can take. Go for more attack speed and like a Moonshard or like a Butterfly type item, or he can look to deal with the evasion and the Drunken Haze and go for something like an MKB or a BKB itself.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good BKB game, but there's plenty of different options, and just depending what he sees as the biggest threat in the team fight will kind of determine that.
Yeah, BKB just giving him free roam and feeling like he's very ahead could be a certain possibility, but it makes no sense that he wouldn't pick up one of the items or one of the components of that up till now. So perhaps just mulling it over.
Yeah, I think it is just like a let's wait and see how like the next fight or so goes. Since he's not able to complete an item now, so you can kind of just wait to see how things settle before committing to any big item.
Yeah, that Halberd probably going to come out sometime soon for Pasha. He's about 1,000 gold away for that from that at this point, so perhaps that makes him lean a little bit towards the BKB, as he has a fair chunk of 4CNL's damage at this point, just having a Wisp and the Viper building into kind of that utility with the Mech S and Y.
And 4CL, I feel there's no reason they don't wait for an Aegis before going for another high ground push. They're probably happy to take a fight outside of their base. They've got pretty strong lineup, and for Vega I think you've got to strike before they've got the Aegis or before they go for the Aegis. So as soon as they hit the Lina BKB, I'd love to see Vega go for a smoke play, because I don't think they can just sit back and let 4CNL out farm them, use their map control the Night Stalker's going to provide them, and then get the next Aegis on a Tiny and have an Aegis with one more tier 4 item. That to me is just almost game over at that point. So Vega, the second they hit this Lina BKB, have got to smoke up and play. Yeah,
and speaking of hitting that, I mean, the map control is just so heavily in 4CL's favor. No one doesn't even know where to farm this last 200 gold. He's going to try and find it at the large camp here, and we'll be able to pick it up fairly soon. But as this Roshan respawns, we'll be notified as to how long that is fairly soon. Definitely look for 4CL to contest it, and now with that Night Stalker Ags, they're going to have free reign over the pit, knowing who's going to look to contest.
Yeah, that's the scary thing, that this Roche can be up any time in the next 3 minutes. So Vega, with their lack of vision, have no way of really scouting out when that is. They could camp the Helmet and Dominator creep from Pasha in the pit, which is maybe something they should consider, but he's got the Frost Armor, which is something which can also be quite handy for a team fight, so very much a tough decision to make.
Shilma going to TP out mid lane from Nico. Just a Viper, no big deal. And we'll be able to make it away, but that forces him back, and it will open up the window to Roshan, who is going to spawn in about 35 seconds from now. So a little bit unfortunate for Vega, but it is on the shorter side of the, or for 4C&L, but it is on the shorter side of the spawn. So they'll be able to grab that up soon. Pycat sitting on 4,200 gold at this point. He's going to look to shove out the top lane, and Solo is nearby, dropping a deep ward. See if Pycat's able to scout him out.
All right, here's the smoke. So Vega, they saw Tiny TP top, which means they know they're not at Roshan right now. And if they go, I think they want to try and gank the Tiny because they're expecting the Wisp to be behind him. So the ideal outcome is you kill the Tiny and prevent the relocate save. But right now, Io's actually a little bit split up from them.
Saxa is gonna have the smoke pop here, and he's still fogged on the blink forward. Is blind from Mag, and it will catch out the Bane. We'll see if the re-engages here from EGM. He's not gonna channel up that defensive relocate, and they'll just sack Saxa for now.
That's a really good sack, because the Lina even committed the BKB, very much expecting there to be a team fight, and sacking the Bane works out in their advantage. They can still contest this 4v5. Yeah. 4C&L have the vision, and they've used the ulti.
Yeah.
No BKB.
Jump forward, avalanche, toss onto 4. The cleave is doing so much work. The mech is going to try and keep them safe, but Nikla coming in from the east is going to completely soak up that Laguna Blade, bring down the Luna. The Winter's Curse will be completely soaked up by that snowball there, but Nikla just going to throw him up in the air.
GG. They had vision advantage. Tiny had just purchased the BKB. It's like, it was very much like kind of what we talked about. Just wait and see how the game develops, and Pycat's like, oh, a Roche fight's about to happen. Let's just buy a BKB for this. Easy win fight. Easy win. Like, there was nothing they could do to fight him at that point.
Yeah, Vega understanding the state of the game, and it just felt like 4C&L's communication was paramount in this one. They really were able to use a great synergy of spells together and overlap them, and their item progression seemed to fit the game perfectly. They had what they needed for every